It was a rainy Wednesday afternoon in Willow Creek when James Carter, a single father working double shifts to raise his 9-year-old son, noticed the old woman struggling at the bus stop. Her umbrella was turned inside out, and her grocery bags were tearing from the bottom. People passed her by, too busy with their lives. James didn't hesitate. He pulled his dented pickup to the curb, stepped out into the rain, and offered her a lift. "I'm not a stranger," he said gently, noting her hesitation. "Just a dad trying to raise my boy right." Her name was Esther Lane, and she reminded James of his late mother, gentle, soft-spoken, and far too proud to ask for help. That day, he not only drove her home but also helped unpack her groceries, fixed a squeaky kitchen cabinet, and replaced a light bulb. She insisted on paying him. "I don't want your money, ma'am," he said. "I just hope someone does the same for my son when he's older." Before leaving, James scribbled his number and left it on the fridge. "If you ever need help, even just company, call me." Weeks passed. Esther did call, sometimes just to ask about the weather, other times for help changing the batteries in her smoke alarm. Each time, James brought his son Noah along. They began having tea together, sharing stories. Noah loved her. Esther would light up at their visits. There was a warmth in her home that had been missing for years. One day, she said softly, "You remind me of my daughter. She passed when her baby girl was only 5. I raised that girl the best I could, but we don't talk anymore. Haven't for 10 years. James didn't pry. But he noticed the quiet pain behind her eyes. One morning, Esther called in tears. Someone had broken into her home. Nothing major was stolen, but her sense of safety was shattered. James showed up immediately. He replaced her locks, installed a small security camera, and stayed until she felt safe again. That night, Noah drew her a picture of the three of them with the words, "Family isn't always blood." James posted it on a local Facebook group, thanking the community for donations he'd received to help Esther that week. The post went viral. But what neither of them knew, someone very important saw it. 3 days later, a black SUV pulled up in front of Esther's modest house. Out stepped a tall, confident woman in a sleek pantsuit, sunglasses over her eyes. Esther froze when she opened the door. "Hello, Nana." The woman was Sloan Lane, the reclusive tech billionaire known for funding schools in developing countries and launching a healthcare startup after losing her mother to cancer. The world knew her as a mogul. Esther knew her as the granddaughter who stopped visiting after a falling out in her 20s. James stood beside Esther, unsure whether to leave. But Sloan turned to him and said, "You're the man who helped my grandmother, and my mother's memory." Over tea, Sloan confessed everything. "I stayed away because I was ashamed. I ran from grief. From her death. From you." Tears welled in Esther's eyes, but her voice was steady. "I never needed your money, Sloan. Just your presence." Sloan turned to James. "Your son, the drawing, it reminded me of the family I abandoned." And then she looked James in the eye. "You reminded me what kindness looks like." Sloan didn't just reconcile with her grandmother, she changed everything. She bought Esther a new home near a park where Noah could play. But more than that, she hired James to lead a new community outreach program she was launching in the town, a role that used his heart and grit. And for Noah? She offered a full scholarship to any school he dreamed of. But James declined the job at first. "I'm not a charity case," he said. "You're not," she replied. "You're the reason I remembered who I am." He took the role not for the money, but for the impact. A year later, at the ribbon cutting of the Elaine Carter Center for Community Kindness, Sloan stood beside her grandmother, James, and little Noah. Esther, frail but beaming, whispered, "It all started with a bag of groceries." And it had. A simple act of kindness from a tired single dad transformed 3 generations, one lost, one healing, and one just beginning. Because sometimes, the smallest act of compassion unlocks the biggest miracles. In a world chasing success, may we never forget the quiet power of showing up for someone else.